Welcome everybody, Dr. Keith here. How's everyone doing today? Happy Wednesday. If you can just confirm that you can hear me okay, and you can see my Thinkorswim screen, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Good morning. Alan, John. Perfect. Thanks, Vince. Okay. So again, thanks for joining. For those of you that are normally in this, you're going to see more folks in the room today. I get a lot of questions on, do I do any day trading and so forth? So I just wanted to open it up to the public today and show everybody what I do. Okay, so again, for those of you regulars, you'll see a lot more folks in there than normal here. Okay. All right, so as we hit the 9 o'clock hour here, I have crude oil up here. Okay, and for the purposes of today, over the next hour and a half or so, I'm really gonna only probably keep it to crude oil and the S&P. It may be coffee, just to show some people some other options as well there, but only because as I kind of explain what I'm doing here today, I think it'll be easier to kind of stay on that. Because let me be clear, my purpose of today is to show you how when I day trade, how I do it, explain my system. Okay, I will certainly take a trade or two if I get it in time with the opportunity, but I'm really looking to just educate on how I do it more than anything today. Okay. So with that, again, this is crude oil. Okay, and let me kind of explain, and this will take time. I don't expect you to know everything in one session. Okay, I'll probably open this up to the public on the 30th as well, just to give you another idea. But so this is a 5-minute chart over here. Okay, so you can see right here 5-minute, and this is the 1 minute. Okay, and so those of you that use different time frames, good morning, Bill. You can absolutely use tick charts. I know people that use a 1 minute and a tick chart, or they use a larger time frame. Absolutely, and I play with all different kinds as well. But what I'm going to do today is the 5-minute and the 1 minute. Okay, that's what I use most of the time because it fits my style the best. Okay, so those of you that trade crude, you can see here at 9 o'clock is really the pit opening per se. So usually that 9 o'clock bar, you can get some movement. So if you're day trading before 9 o'clock on crude, usually I try to exit the position before then. It's almost like the US Open in essence for crude, okay? And so with that, we'll kind of keep an eye on it now to see what it's going to do, okay? But what I have here, folks, is these actual candlesticks are Hakanachi Candlesticks. And I am recording this, and I will send this out later on today with the recording as well, okay? But these are Hakanachi Candlesticks, and then you'll see the little lines here. The white is the open, and the red is the close, okay? So like right now, you can see, because this is the current wick, even though this is a Hakanachi candle, this is where actual price is right here, and now it just popped up right there, okay? So I love Hakanachi, using Hakanachi, but I also want to know where the actual price is as well, and that's what those lines are for, okay? And then I use this white dotted line is a Laguerre oscillator. Okay, it's my favorite oscillator that I like to use, and we'll talk more about this. Again, I don't expect everybody to remember all this at once here. That's not the goal. And then you can see the different dots down here, and this helps me manage my trade. So once I'm in the trade, if I went short here, just as an example, okay, let's say you went short at 8.35. Okay, at least part of my trade I can stay in because it's still red. Okay, when am I going to exit the rest of this trade? If I was in this, you know, would be a yellow or a green dot, depending on your risk tolerance. Okay, so this helps you manage, and then you can also go back and review situations to see how well that's working for it, okay? And then the comparison bar, the tick bar doesn't open up until the US Open at 9:30. And then this is just an ADX. And when I see green and yellow, okay, big picture, it doesn't pick direction, but when I see green or yellow, it tells me that we're trending enough to take trades. If it's red, I'm more cautious, okay? And the same thing here is just the 1 minute over here on the right, okay? So that's just big picture right now, just so as I start looking for trades and looking at opportunities, you kind of get a feel for it. There's two moving averages. The thicker one is the 50 exponential, and the white one is the 20. I just like to use moving averages for overall trend or lack of trend. Okay, it doesn't really tell me whether to take a trade or not. I mean, you can trade them in all ways, right? If it's an uptrend, you can look for retracements. If you're in a downtrend, right, same thing. Or more importantly, if it's sideways market, you can look for those support resistance as well, okay? You can see here on crude, we're getting a trigger, which is right here where the Laguerre comes up, okay? Look how solid, let me blow this up for you. So look how solid this Hakanachi candle is. That's the benefit of using Hakanachi, okay? So that's a bullish candle. Okay, we also have the 5 minute Laguerre turning back up. So more than likely, crude is going to head higher. Okay, if you got in at the open of this candle at 70.43, okay, what you're looking for is at least probably 10 ticks or so to take partial profits. But again, we'll talk more about that. I just want to kind of go over some of these things and show you there. I don't usually like to trade crude until at least 5 minutes after the 9 o'clock now, okay? So now we're there, or earlier in the morning, certainly, but not right around that 9 o'clock, because you're getting a lot of digestion, just like you do when you're trading the ES or something, or the Dow at 9:30, okay? So let me go to something else now. Look up the S&P. And for those of you that are just coming in, I'm only going to concentrate on a couple instruments today because I don't want to complicate things right on this open trading day. But what I want to show you is, I mean, it doesn't matter what you trade, that the system is the system, okay? How I trade anyway, okay? And this is being recorded so that, again, if you have questions, you can go back and listen to the recording as well to help digest some of this information. My goal isn't to execute 100 trades this morning. It's to show you how I trade. I get a lot of questions on, hey, Dr. Keith, when you day trade, how do you do it? I wanted to open that up to the public and let you know how I do that, okay? So here's an example on the S&P, okay? You can see how the moving averages are widening. Okay, so I like that for a bullish move, okay? And so you can enter on two different ways. You can literally just enter on the 5 minute if you're a trader that doesn't want to have to worry about getting in too fast, okay? And so when we talk more about these Hakanachi dots, okay, you can get it back in when you go from a red to a yellow and then to a green. That could be a potential reentry. Those are more aggressive though, okay? What I prefer to do is get in when the Laguerre comes all the way down into the green and then it comes out, and you have a green Hakanachi, which would have been right here. Okay, that's a better entry in my opinion, okay? Again, I don't trade ES at 5:55 in the morning, but I'm just showing you how I use this, okay? So on the 1 minute, we had a trigger at 8:55 here, okay? And if you took that trigger, all right, you made, again, on the 1 minute, you're not looking for 100 ticks, right? You made your initial profit target there, okay? And you can do that all day long when you have these Laguerre triggers, okay? Well, let me get rid of that here. I don't want that going off the whole time. Okay. So again, it really just depends on your risk tolerance, and I'll get into how I look for, stop losses and that. The cool thing is once I'm in a trade, okay, I take partial profits. I move my stop to break even +1. But then I like to stay in until Hakanachi, the green, for long plays, the green candles tell me to get out, or I get stopped out at break even +1, okay? Because you can turn a 5 minute day trade into an all afternoon trade certain times, okay? And that's kind of the beauty is you don't know, it's not going to happen every day, but when it does, you can literally get in at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you don't get a signal to exit the rest of your trade until towards the end of the shift, okay? Now on the ES, the S&P or the Dow or the Nasdaq, okay, if I'm in right now, I'm always going to get out before the US Open, because the US Open, again, you have a lot of digestion at 9:30, okay? So what we're really looking for is to get in, I get in a lot after the 8:30 news. There's usually a lot of news at 8:30 in some times. Okay, in this case, today's a pretty low news day. Okay, always check your news and understand that when you're day trading. You can use FinViz, FINVIZ is a good one to look at news. But the only thing we really have is crude oil at 10:30. Okay, today. The other news, the wholesale inventory is at 10. I mean, it can move the market, so we'll keep an eye on it, but it's not usually a big market mover today. So we don't really have any scheduled news that we have to worry about other than the crude oil at 10:30. But again, my intent today is to stay on until right around 10:30 for about an hour and a half here to kind of show you what I do. And again, this is being recorded, and I'll send this out to everyone. I will also have another session of this. I believe it is, let me just check. I think it's June 30th, where I'll do the same thing again. Yeah, so it'll be that Wednesday, the last Wednesday of June as well. Just try to get, I get a lot of questions on how I day trade. And, full disclosure, my heart is in swing trading because, one, it gives me the freedom that I love. But there's some opportunities that, when you're getting volatility, and that there's some days that I can't help, but I need to day trade. You have to have a good system to do that, okay? All right, so let's go back to crude now, just because we're getting close. I don't know if I really want to pull the trigger on the ES here yet, but we don't have a trade yet anyway. But let's take a look at crude. So I'm going back over to crude oil. And you can see that the open, you see how you get a lot of back and forth, okay? So now what I'm really looking for at this point is, kind of give us some direction now. This is not a very nice looking chart, as you'll get to be familiar with. The moving averages are crossing over each other. The 5 minutes, they're to the upside, the 1 minute is to the downside. So what I recommend in those cases, you don't trade. You go to something else, or you just go for a walk, okay? You're going to get plenty of opportunities. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, the micro Bitcoin. Okay, that'll be the third one I'll look at today, because I know a lot of people are starting to trade that. I'm more than happy to show that. So full disclosure, again, this is one you're going to get huge gaps. So as a brand new trader, I would not recommend trading Bitcoin at this point. But again, you can kind of see how it works. So let's kind of go through it. So right here, this is what I look for. At about 6:20. Okay, the Laguerre, you see how it came out of the green, right back out right here. And I have a green Hakanachi dot. So that's what I look for. So there's my entry, okay? And then again, let's say you get out at 10 ticks or whatever, you make your money, but then when do you get out the rest? Let's say you do 2 contracts, okay? I'm gonna put my stop at break even +1, okay? And I'm gonna basically stay in until I get a red dot, which would have been right here, okay? And then if you wanna re-enter, because a lot of times the Laguerre won't come all the way down all the time, right? So your new re-enter is, remember when I said you get a red, then you go back to yellow, then a green? Okay, that's your potential re-enter right there, okay? And then another re-entry right here, okay? And where are your stops going to be? What I like to do for stops, okay, I've tried a couple different things throughout the years. And unless you only trade one instrument, you get to know it better than your husband or wife. The best way to do this is to do one thing. Either put number of ticks, which I think is very difficult when you're trading multiple instruments, or I like to look at the swings. So in this case, if I got in right here, my stop's going to be at this swing low right here, okay? If you're not okay with that risk, then you ignore it. There's going to be more trades, folks, okay? Well, like here's an example where if you got in here, right below this swing is your stop, because it basically, if it breaks through that low, then you want to get out, okay? And so as we're looking at the Bitcoin right now, you see how this green Hakanachi potentially on the 5, the 1 minute's broken out to the upside, but you see how the Laguerre is still down at the bottom? Okay, what I would like to wait for here is this Laguerre to start curving up. Okay, especially when the 1 minute is kind of down here. So again, these rules are going to be very simple. I'm giving you a ton of information in 14 minutes so far, but I'm just trying to give you big picture as we get started here today. Okay, but you can see here, here's a good potential entry right now on Bitcoin. And more than likely you'll take some profits right about here at that 35,300 level here, because that's where you take partial, put your stop at break even plus 1 or 2 ticks. That way you then have guaranteed yourself some money, and who knows how far this is going to run at this point, right? We don't know if this is going to be a less than a minute trade or a 3-hour trade. But as long as the 5 minute at that point would stay green, and after you hit your profit target, you can stay in partial until you get a red Hakanachi. Okay, so again, this is a good, nice uptrend, retracement back to the upside. This is a good opportunity. Your probabilities are really high, in these type of trades. Okay. And again, don't trade Bitcoin if you're just getting started. Okay, see the gaps, the volume's way lower. You need to know what you're doing to trade this. Okay, so again, this is a nice Laguerre trigger. ADX is green, just meaning again it's trending. Yellow or green just means it's trending good for us, and we're okay with that. Okay. And then the comparison bar here, the tick, I use this for the indexes. We'll talk about this at 9:30 when the market opens up. Okay. All right, so we'll come back. Just wanted to show you Bitcoin. And again, you can do this on Forex. You can do this on stocks. Absolutely, it's the same system. Okay, it's the same system. Just I'm not going to overdo it today during this open room. Okay. Coffee's another one that I've been watching recently and really like the triggers on coffee. So you do have to have the ICE exchange, which is /KC on Thinkorswim to trade coffee. Okay. But you can see here, we had a short trigger right here. Okay. So you got the Laguerre triggering and a red Hakanachi. Okay. If you get in at the open, you made your profit target. Okay. So you're going to have some smaller wins here. And then you're going to get some bigger wins. And again, you got in here, this is a tough one from a risk reward, because where do you want to put your stop if you're in here, right? I don't want to put it that far up, right? So in that case, I'm going to look at something where if it closes above the last bar, I just want to get out, because what you want is, it's not about what your percentage win ratio is. It's about not risking. You don't want to have too tight of stops or you'll just always lose. Okay. But if you don't like the risk reward, keep a stop that is more legitimate for you, that gives enough room to move. But if you put it all the way up here and that doesn't work out, you put yourself in a pretty big hole, and you don't want to do that. Okay. So again, this is just a good example of we had divergence here. One of my indicators here is divergence. So when you get this is super powerful. Okay. It does not mean it automatically paints on the screen. And it does not mean that we're going to have a huge trend change. Okay. What it's telling you is that there's divergence. So we're probably very close, in this case, to a bottom. Just like right here. See, you had divergence. It painted right here. You had this retracement before then it came back down. So usually when it paints divergence, if I was short here, I like to exit the trade. Okay. So these automatically pop in, so you don't have to think about it, as you're trading. Okay. Let me just fix something here for some reason. This is. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's go back to, let me talk a little bit about the S&P. Okay, I know that's what a lot of you trade, or the Nasdaq, but again, for newer traders, the Nasdaq moves a lot faster, so be careful. So here's an example where on the 1 minute, we're getting close to a trigger, right? But look at this chart. I mean, this is pretty sideways right now. We're getting within 10 minutes to the US Open. So I don't care what kind of trigger we get. Me personally, I'm not taking this, okay? Absolutely, Bill. Now, in saying that, you can also see on the 1 minute, the ADX is red, which again does not mean short. It means it's not in a trending environment as we speak, okay? And that's pretty common right before the US Open, okay? So again, I'm not gonna trade right now. So one question I had from Bill was, when you see divergence here, see this divergence, okay? What is that for? What does that mean really? So here's where you got a new recent high in price, but a traditional RSI was not a new high, okay? And I don't have that on the screen because I don't need it to be. And then there's a few other preparatory stuff, but basically that's what it is, okay? So once it paints and it closes, okay, this is always gonna stay here. If it doesn't close, it'll pop in and out. And then if at the end of the bar, if it doesn't still meet the criteria, it'll disappear. But once it's painted and the next bar opens, it stays there forever. And again, what that usually means is you have a potential top either at this bar or in the near future before it's going to make a retracement. And divergence, folks, is unbelievably powerful on all time frames. But again, it does not mean you're going to necessarily have a huge trend change. It just means you're going to have a short-term top or bottom as well, okay? But yeah, so this is just a traditional RSI bill. I found that the most effective, okay? I've tried MACD, I've tried all kinds of momentum oscillators, and the old traditional RSI tends to do a phenomenal job at it, okay? All right, let me bring up crude again, just while we're kind of waiting for that US Open. So again, what I don't like about crude this morning so far, right, is just this back and forth. Now you can play this. So if price were to come back down to roughly these levels where we've had support and then we get a new trigger, if the risk reward's good, you just put your stop below this wick as an example. And then if it goes back up, you can get some range. You're not probably looking for big picture moves, but who cares when you're day trading, right? You can get 5, 10 ticks and you're good, right? You can make some good money on that, okay? But right now we're just kind of waiting because we're definitely not in a trending environment on crude. You see that? That's what I like about the moving averages, is it kind of shows me whether or not it's tough to trade. Now, again, being that these are both pretty flat in a range, you can absolutely day trade in ranges. I love the risk reward on those. Okay, but we're just going to wait to see how it opens up here and kind of breaks out one way or the other here. Okay, so a little bit more advanced concept there for today. When the 9:30 market opens up, we'll start up on the ES. There's a couple of other indicators that I have on here, and then you'll have my full disclosure of indicators for the most part. Let's see here. Because once the 9:30 opens up, we're going to have the gap statistics, which I'll show you. Those of you that are familiar with gaps will love this. Those of you that are not familiar with gaps, what that means is if you look at, and again, this really just works on the indexes, okay? At least that's what I've tested it on. But typically what happens, folks, is when you have a situation where, the futures markets close at 4 o'clock Eastern, well, actually 5, but let's say 4:15 or whatever, okay? And then the regular session does, right? And then the next morning at 9:30 it opens up. If there's a gap, meaning like right now, we're up 7 points, okay? So it's a small gap right now, okay? Typically the gap is going to get filled throughout the day at some point, as long as it's not a runaway gap. If it was up 200 and some points on the ES, you're not going to fill. But if we stay roughly 7-8 points, folks, you're going to have at least an 80% probability of it filling its gap before it goes higher or lower again. Okay. And again, I've tested this. It's usually about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the best days to fill the gaps. And it's over 80% accurate. So again, you don't necessarily just at the open want to go short because again, you have a 7-point gap. That could give you some pain, right? But what it's telling you is that when you get that short trigger, if, for example, if the gap hasn't been filled yet, you're probably going to come down close to the gap. And that'll make more sense here when the market opens up. You'll see how my indicator will pop in there, okay? But anyway, the gap is something that you can definitely trade. At least you need to know the bias of it, because a gap like today that's pretty small will probably fill pretty quickly, okay? So we've got about 5 minutes to the US Open. Again, those of you that are joining a little bit late, let me just kind of blow this up. So these candles you see are Hakanachi candles. Okay, I day trade using Hakanachi. When you see these lines, like the white line is the actual open price. So it's not the Hakanachi, it's the actual open. And then the red is the close. Okay, so that I can look at a Hakanachi candle but still know what the actual price was doing, okay? To me, that's important. I like to know what actual price is doing at all times. So the current candle, you'll actually see the red line moving because as price moves, right, that red line is gonna move as well. You see how it just moved down here, okay? But what I do like on the ES right now, these are widening the 5 minute. Remember, this is the 5 minute chart and this is the 1 minute chart. But you can use any time frames you want. Okay, you just have to understand your risk with that. Okay. Okay. And so Bill says there are conflicting signals. Well, right now I don't. Well, so we had a 1 minute trigger here, but we don't have a new trigger yet on the 5, Bill. But what I'm really looking for, this close to the US Open, we're not going to do anything. But I think I know what you're saying. So what I prefer is, right now I'm more bullish, right? These are widening on the 5. So what I would like to do is if I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, I would be taking a long play on the 1 minute, okay, as a more aggressive, or you can wait. If you're only going to trade off of just one chart off of 5 minute, at this point we have to wait. Or when it goes back to green like this candle, if it closes green, remember closes, which will be at 9:30, that could be a new entry, but I'm not doing it at the US Open. So I'll have some more examples, probably, I'm sure this morning that will probably clear some of that up. But what I like to use if you're only using the 1 minute in conjunction with the 5, I like to use the 1 minute when you'll have times where the 5 minute is trending very nicely and it's hard to get back in. Then I look for that 1 minute. Okay. Then I look for that 1 minute entry. Others just use the 1 minute because they like the risk on that. You can do that as well. But I like to always have the 5 minute here, no matter what I have over here, just to see a little bit bigger picture of what's going on. Okay. And so again, we've got 3 minutes to the US Open. And yeah, you can use a system with Forex, with stocks, obviously. It's all the same, folks. And the only difference is how you're going to manage the risk. But again, I like to use swing highs and lows if it's acceptable risk. If not, I'll look at a candle or two back below. Okay, but you have to in any trading, you have to give it enough room or you're just going to get stopped out, right? Absolutely. You can use a 233 tick. I mean, you can use any tick size you want. One of my traders trades coffee off of a what is it, Jim? I think he uses a 88 or something like that. So yeah, because again, it's all being calculated based off of the time frame you put in there. Obviously, the smaller the time frame, the more triggers, the faster it is, the less profit you're looking at. 88 tick. You know, the less profit that you're going to take before you take it off the table. So you trade them differently, obviously, but you can use any time frame you want. All right, so we're getting very close to the US Open here. We've got 30 seconds. What I usually like to do, folks, especially on a day like today when a lot of new folks are in here, I always wait about 5 minutes, usually anyway, when the market opens to let it digest. Certainly the first couple minutes, because you're getting all the overnight orders and everything else, okay? Don't have FOMO, folks. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Dr. Keith? Right? Fear of missing out. There's plenty of trades. You don't want to try to get in at the market, okay, when it opens up. If you do that, you're going to lose money. Maybe not the first time, but at some point it's going to blow you out, okay? Okay. So let me just explain here as this starts. So you're like, well, this blue line just started. What is that? Okay. So what we have here, folks, the blue line is the open price as of 9:30. So you can always see that. That can be support and resistance throughout the day. Okay. And then this right here is the gap fill. Okay. So 42.25, and you can see the gap is 36 ticks. 36 ticks. Okay, we have a pretty high probability at some point today this probably being covered. Okay, just to let you know. Now we got the ticks, and again, I know this is a lot if you're new to trading. Okay, so I want to show you as much as I can, but don't get overwhelmed. So the ticks is how much buying and selling is coming in the market. So I also have it up here as a label. See it up here? So the Nasdaq is 489. The Dow is 297. Anything over 800 or minus 800 is to me more significant buying or selling. So we're opening up, you know, a little bullish, but nothing ridiculous. Okay, nothing ridiculous. Okay. So you can see on this 9:30 candle so far on the Hakanachi, it's bullish, right? It's bullish. The 1 minute, we're just going to let it do its thing. Here's what I'm hoping for. I want to see a pullback and then a resumption back up. Okay. But one of my concerns to go long right now would be, even with triggers, is this gap, right? It can fill pretty quickly when it happens, folks. Okay. But again, we can always keep tight profits, targets, and so forth. Okay. And as I mentioned, I'm not concerned about the amount of trades today or anything like that. I'm more about educating you all on how I'm doing this. But you know, this is on the 1 minute. The ticks are going to be identical because I'm just that way they're on both screens. But you can always see up here the tick count. You know, the Nasdaq's pretty bullish right now at 500. The S&P or the Dow is at 200. When it gets up to over 800 or 1,000, if it's plus, you know, positive, that can be pretty good buying coming in. If it's negative, it can be selling. So today there's no major panic or anything. It's kind of a normal environment, which could be a good setup for us. Okay. And yeah, what you see over here, coffee, S&P, corn, crude, soybeans, Bitcoin, Euro, US dollar, you know, Netflix, Apple. I like to day trade. I don't day trade stocks as much, not because I can't. I prefer the futures. Okay. But these are some of my favorites to trade right here. We're kind of letting it digest, and who knows, maybe today will be boring, maybe it won't, but that's part of trading. You have to have a plan, right? So again, I'm more bullish right now. It seems to be respecting this moving average, right? The 20 period. And so if we got a Laguerre coming back up with a green Hakanachi, you could do more of a scalping trade. But again, my issue is I'm waiting for, I think the gap's going to probably fill here. Okay. It may not be right away. Sometimes it is. It may be an hour or two in, but it can happen pretty quickly when it does. Okay. So the other playing you could do is if you started getting a red candle here and a trigger on the 1 minute, you could go short and put your stop right above these wicks, right? That way you can try to fill the gap with limited risk here. Okay, you would just put your stop right above this level here. You know, that's a good way of playing it, because again, it's not about win percentage, it's about risk reward, to make more than you lose that way, right? The gap is being measured from yesterday's normal close to the open today. Yep. And so right here on the ES, I'm showing 36 ticks, right? 36 ticks. So I know some of you that are in the room with me every other week, I absolutely know you took this because you put your stop above here because of the gap fill, right? And you know, the bottom line here is you don't have to be greedy and wait for the entire thing. You can take some risk off and, you know, see what happens at this point, right? You've made enough to put your stop at break even +1. That way, if it continues down and fills, you did really well. If it comes right back up, you know, you still have a small win there. That's the different mentality of day trading versus swing trading. Again, you don't have to win 90% of the time to be successful in day trading. You have to just have better risk reward on what you're doing there, okay? You can see the ticks, nothing significant right now. We basically started, opened up here, and it's, you know, we're heading a little bit lower on ticks, but nothing significant. If we get significant tick readings today, I'll explain that some more. As of right now, it certainly looks like we may continue to head down and fill that gap. Time will only tell, though, okay? If you're in this on the 1 minute, you know, as an example, you have your stop at break even +1. Let's say you have one contract left. You can do two things. You can literally try to keep it break even +1 until it fills the gap, okay? Or when you get a green Hakanachi, exit the trade. Okay, exit the trade. So if it closes on the 1 minute here and you're not stopped out at break even +1, then you could exit that trade. So, you know, no perfect answer there. It depends on what your goals are. Are you looking for more home runs? You've already made a little bit of money, or do you want to just build it up and make X amount of money a day and then go play some golf or something? Okay, or go ride your horses. So, you know, that's what you can do. But you know, we right now we're just kind of waiting and seeing at this point. Tick count's been positive since we opened up, and now the 1 minute, you can see, looks like it wants to get that trigger long. Okay. The Laguerre hasn't started curving up yet. I would definitely want to wait for a green Hakanachi dot there. You see how it's opened up. But what is my issue? Kind of what Bill said earlier. Okay. The 5 minute is red. Okay. So if you're going long right now, 5 or 6 ticks, protect yourself, knowing there's more risk because the 5 minute isn't in agreement necessarily from Hakanachi, but we are in that trend. Okay. But we're also right at highs, right, for the day. So if you're going to take profits, I would take it right like 1 tick below the high. You're more of a scalp here. So is it worth it for you to get 4 or 5 ticks and then get out? Again, I can't answer that for you, but that's an opportunity. Okay. So you can see, you can read Hakanachi candles just like traditional, meaning that's a bullish candle. Okay. That's a bullish candle. So more than likely we're going to come up, maybe test today's open. Okay. But we just don't know yet. Okay. We don't know until it happens. But the Laguerre hasn't started curving up yet. Remember, we've been consolidating here. So just kind of waiting, right? Just kind of waiting. Let me take a look at if crude's done anything good now. So that's horrible, right? You're not going to make money on that, those wicks. So what you do, you don't tempt yourself. You just wait. You look at something else. Let's go back to the Bitcoin. Okay, so on Bitcoin here, remember we're in this uptrend, it's retracing. So what I like to see, if this kind of respects the bottom and we get a new trigger long, because then, you know, let's say we come down wick and then up here we get a trigger, you can put your stop right below the recent low. It's not a whole lot of risk, folks, right? And if you caught it right, you're risking a little to make potentially a lot more. Okay, that is a good summary of day trading. That's what you look for, okay? We'll keep an eye on Bitcoin as well. This is the micro Bitcoin, okay? Let me look at Nasdaq just to kind of see it again. The Nasdaq, folks, I must have deleted it. You know, it's more volatile than the ES, so you know, definitely drink your Mountain Dew. Oh, guy, did I just say that out loud? I used to drink Mountain Dew for years. And then my wife wouldn't, when I started dating my wife, she wouldn't buy it for me, so I quit drinking it. But boy, did I go through withdrawals. Okay, so Nasdaq, you know, again, pretty normal to have these big wicks, okay? But again, if you got, let's say in the next 1 minute bar, you got a long trigger, okay, on the Hakanachi. If you put your stop below these, you're not risking much. Then if it makes this move, you're going to do well. So my favorite trades, folks, are when the Laguerre triggers and you have a green Hakanachi in agreement with that, okay? And you will get those at least during the morning session 1 to 4 times as an average, okay? And then if you're trading multiple, like crude and ES, for example, you're going to have plenty of trades that are matching that criteria. And those are the best trades to make money. Everything else is a little bit more aggressive, right? And so forth. But it's just digesting right now. And the market's just kind of digesting. Let's take a look and see if coffee is doing anything here. Okay, so, you know, here's an example. If you're trading off the 1 minute, you know, you got to put your stop here, but it's in disagreement with the 5. So you don't really want to do that. You'll get used to that. Okay. All right. So let me go and put in, just for now, for coffee, let me put 88K. So you see over here, it tells you where you're at. Okay. So again, it's faster, right? It's going to move faster, but a trigger was right here at 427. Then you can go short. You know, you got a long, then you got a short, then you got a long, right? Then you got a short right now. Okay. So you're going to get a lot more trades at shorter time frames. Your profit target is going to be smaller, and you just have to be ready for these. Okay, you just have to be ready for these. I like this one a lot more just because we're really in 5 minute, we're in a downtrend, you know, and it came up, kissed almost a 50 period, and then it reverted. Okay. I think so, Bill. I think it's a great idea that if you try something, you know, let's say you're trading the ES and you lose 3 in a row. I don't know if you need to quit trading it for the day, just because, again, if you're following rules, you should be fine. But walk away, take a walk, and come back for sure. Yeah, because then you're going to be. And what I mean by that is because then you're going to be more aggressive by nature, right? It's human nature to want to get back in and make that up, right? That's what happens more than anything. All right, so let's go back and see now if the ES is doing anything good. I'm going to change this back for now. Again, you can do any time frame you want. I'm going to change it to 1 day, 1 minute, 1 day. Okay. So again, 5 minutes pretty bearish. 1 minute's turning around. We haven't quite hit that gap yet, right? I really want to see it come back and hit this gap. And then if it gets bullish at that point, I'll really like it to the long side. But again, as I've been telling you, my issue of going long here is that 80% or greater should fill this gap. So I have a hard time putting a lot of position in a long play at this point. I think that even though some of you that are probably more experienced day trading, be aware of the gap. It's amazed me for years. And it's going to help you, especially stay and wait and be more patient. Because again, as much as I want to go long, because we are in a 5-minute uptrend, okay, once that Hakanachi would turn green on the 5, my only hesitation would be we haven't filled the gap yet, okay? So maybe I size a little bit smaller, okay? Or if you're taking 1-minute triggers, you're going to keep tighter stops. You know, once you're making some few ticks, maybe you're getting out. Okay, so here's an example where the 5-minute bar just opened up. Okay, so it hasn't closed, right? But it's just opening up as of right now. The Laguerre's curving. Okay, so maybe it's going to come back now and not catch that gap yet. Okay, at some point of the day, it probably will. But if you're taking this trade, okay, you're going to want to get out at the high or at the open today, which is this blue line, at least part of your trade. Okay, at least part of your trade. You can see buying tick count is at 300. So no major buying or selling, just normal activity in the market right now. Okay, but high likelihood now is going to come up and kiss the open. And then we'll see if it breaks through or if it goes back down. Okay, that's kind of where we're at right now. Okay, again, if you're taking these trades right here, if you got in, right? Again, I don't know on a 1-minute if you want to put your stop down here. That's pretty wide for a 1-minute trade because you've already would have taken some profits up here. Okay. So again, the way to do that is if you get in at the open, go back 2 candles and put your stop is a good way of doing it. Okay. That way, if you're wrong, you're just wrong a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep it on the ES for a few minutes here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Again, my issue with doing these publicly is there's so much information. I don't like to confuse people. It's actually very simple though, right? I mean, the real power is in the Laguerre and the Hakanachi, okay? That's the real power. But it's very important to know the open of the day with the gap. Okay, it's probably coming up and get that open here again right now as we speak. And then the other thing I don't have on my screen right now is the open, the high and the low for the week. Only because again, I don't want to confuse people, but that's the only other indicator I put on here is the high and the low for the week. The reason being is that can be really good support and resistance. Okay. But see how this 1 minute is still very bullish? So again, if you were in this trade on a 1 minute, there's no reason to exit. Okay, you can trail your stop, of course, but from a Hakanachi, they're saying we're going higher, right? And there we go. We just kissed the open there. Okay, and so now take some profits. Absolutely, take some profits at the open, and we'll see now where the market wants to go. Okay. Might still have bias to fill that gap. That's always in the back of my mind, okay? When are we going to fill that gap? But yeah, absolutely. That would have been a nice trade for you to make a few ticks, without question. If you took the 1 minute trigger, you know, again, good stopping point would have been, because this is where Hakanachi and Laguerre agreed right here, right? So that means at the open of the next candle, which is right here, you'd want to have your stop roughly 2 back, like right here. Okay, because that way, if it turns around, you're just out. You're just out. But if it doesn't, you hit your profit you're good, okay? That was a more aggressive trade though because of the gap. So what else are we noticing here, folks? Wick, 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 right? I don't want to go long right now until it gets through that, right? The open of the 9:30 session is showing a lot of resistance, isn't it? Is that because professionals are saying, wait a minute, we haven't filled the gap yet? Time will tell, okay? So the 1 minute Hakanachi turned red. McGear's starting to point down. Tick count is minus 43. So again, no major buying or selling right now. When you have some news come out or the markets are going crazy one way or the other, you can get tick readings up to 1,500, 2,000 nowadays. Yep. You see how that 5 minute bar just opened up bearish. Maybe this will be maybe we're coming close now to fill this gap, okay? A 36 tick gap is not, that's almost the ideal, to be honest with you, of being filled, okay? Almost ideal. And so in this case, you know, again, if you did a gap trade from the open, you never want to turn this into a loser, right? Again, high probability we're going to come hit this, but to just walk away and have your stop and break even at this point, you could give up all these profits, right? So be mindful of that, but look at that 1 minute now, okay? Nice and bearish, nice and bearish. It's like a magnet. This gap here is like a magnet. Nice thing about the gap trading is if you're not somebody that wants to be here all morning, most gaps will, you know, fill pretty quickly within the first hour or two. Then you can, you know, you can be done if you want to be. The other thing is that if it's a larger gap, like if this would have opened up at, let's say 80 ticks, what I look for is roughly half gaps if it starts coming back, okay? So you won't always get full gaps. You may only get a partial gap fill, okay? And if it's a really big gap up or down, you're probably not going to come close. For whatever reason, the markets are ready to go. And, you know, I don't do the gaps then. But today is a great example of probably over a 90% probability, half a gap fill, which already happened, but you know, over 80% of this filling to that point, okay? But either way, you did well. If you did this, you know, you're fine as this comes and probably hits this here any minute now. So we'll keep it on the ES for right now. Well, the reason I like the ES is the way it moves, okay? There's a lot of volume in that so that you're not getting multiple price gaps. Where if you look at something, you know, like Nasdaq, you can get those gaps. So for newer traders, the only disadvantage on the ES is that all the professionals trade this, so you're kind of with them, right? But if you go with the trends, you know, with the Hakanachi and the Gear, you should be in good shape though, okay? You're not going to win every time. Risk reward though, if you do that right, and then you'd be good. So it depends on which platform you're actually executing trades off of. Okay, this is Thinkorswim, right? And one question is on margin requirements. So day trading margins for Thinkorswim is the same as overnight. Okay, that's just their rule. But if you use TradeStation to actually execute your trades, or Infinity is one of my favorite brokers, margin's like $500 a contract, okay? Thinkorswim's a little weird about it, but I use Thinkorswim charts, and then, you know, if I don't like the margin, I actually usually use TradeStation then to execute the trades personally. I love Infinity as well, though, from a margin standpoint, especially if you have a smaller account. They're great to have a low margin there. Okay. So right now it's kind of a battling right here. We're like, okay, are we going to fill this gap or not? Okay. Are we going to fill it or not? Are we going to fill it or not? Let me bring up crude. Let me just see if crude's doing anything. Wow, that is ugly. That's about as ugly as I've seen it in a while. Okay, so I would just skip crude for right now. Let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. Let's see, not a whole lot going on right now. That's okay. Let's take a look at corn. So corn opened up pretty bullish, right? So here's what we look for, folks. Okay, but I've never heard of trade. Is trade ovate? I'll have to look that up. Thanks. All right, so I'm going to write that down, and I love researching that stuff. Okay, so here's an example on corn. We're bullish, right? So what I'm looking for is the 1 minute to come down and retrace and then give us a new entry to the long side. That'd be my ideal, right? Because as long as a 5 minute stays green, right, you're going to get retracements in a trend all the time, okay? So I'm not looking to short this, even though you could, right? You could short corn, put your stop right above here and take some ticks down. Okay, but in a strong trend like this, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to wait for this Laguerre, preferably, folks, to come down into the green and then come right back up and give me an enter off the 1 minute using a 5 minute bias. Okay, so let's keep it on corn just because I like that right now. You know, but you'll get these same setups on the anything else you look for on the ES and crude. Okay. But corn is trending up. And yeah, so let's say you're using the bias here, but you wanted to look at a 230. Let's look at a 133 tick. Okay, you can see here on the 133 tick. See where the Laguerre is? So now we're getting our entry. So as an idea, you're looking to scalp this, right? You're just looking to scalp this, especially getting in here off of that smaller time frame. Because the beauty thing is if it breaks below right here, okay, just get out, right? You see how now it's gone against on there? So if it closes below here, just get out. We're just waiting. If it closes below, get out. Who cares? You lose 3, 4, 5 ticks, but look at the opportunity here to make some money, right? But you have a plan. And that's the key, right? The Laguerre never closed above this yet. That was an aggressive move, okay? But I like the 5 minute. I just don't want to take too much risk on this because I can get right back in, right? We'll see if that Laguerre curves up. So you see how it broke that? I'm just going to get out. Okay, you just exit it and wait, and we'll stay on here because I like this right now. Let me go back to, again, I prefer 1 minute. Okay, so we haven't had a 1 minute trigger yet, right? But if you're using smaller time frames, and you know this, those of you that trade tick charts, I'll do that, Alan, this afternoon. Yeah, we haven't had a trigger yet, right, on PKG, but it's looking fantastic, isn't it? Now we're just waiting on that trigger. All right, so on the 1 minute though, we had a retracement. I'm just waiting, okay? And Gare has back up, get a green dot. There's my enter. So we can come back to corn. Let's take a look and see what's going on with the ES. Okay, so the ES is just sitting there, right? 1 minute's turning back around. You know, my guess is now, folks, we're probably going to come and hit that gap soon. It's just kind of flirting with it right now. Just kind of flirting with it. So we'll wait. Not much range right now on the ES. So it's one of those days where to kind of teach you this is good because it shows you that we have rules. Okay. And as long as we're following the rules, it can keep us out of trouble. Let me go back to corn because corn's chart looks much better. So now, of course, look at that. So this is looking good. But now the new 5 minute bar opened up at 10 and we got a red Hakanachi so far, right? This can still change because this is a 5 minute bar. But what I do like about this, let me just blow it up for you. What I do like about this is if we consolidate here at this 20 period and get a green, right, I can put my stop right below that on that 1 minute as well. Or if you want a little bit more, you know, 662. And see if we can take this up if we get triggers, okay? Let me bring up the Nasdaq. That is ugly, huh? Wow. Crude. See if we can get some trending going on crude now. Remember, we do have the 10:30 news on crude. That's part of the reason it looks like this. Okay, so we missed it. But you can see here on Bitcoin, micro Bitcoin, right? We have a open a 5 minute trigger, the 1 minute's in alignment there. Okay. So I'm breaking my rules. I wasn't going to go over silver instruments, but since crude's not doing anything right now, I just wanted to show you different instruments to kind of show you that the system's all the same. It just depends on what you prefer to trade. But you know, here's an example where we're probably going to come and test these recent highs on the Bitcoin now. You know, but we missed that 1 minute entry. So you know, this can rip your head off. See the gap? See the gaps there versus the ES? You don't have that. There's no contracts here, folks. Okay. All right, I'm going to bring up the S&P again. We'll stay on this for a few minutes. Of course, I said that before, and then I keep migrating, right? But so consolidation right now. I still believe we're going to get a blow off to fill the gap before we head higher, but time will tell at this point. Okay. So one of the questions I'll get a lot, what would you do right now? So if I wasn't in here with everybody right now, and those of you know exactly what I'm going to say, most of you, I'm going for a walk. Yep. That's what I'd be doing. Come back and I don't have the FOMO, right? I'm not worried about if I leave for a little while and miss something, because I know there's always going to be something coming up next. Okay. So after that first half hour, well, yeah, that's true. Run, that's true. Then it just helps you mentally, because if not, you want to force it. And the hardest part about day trading is the mental part of it, without question. Okay. Because you can go back and look at charts with these triggers when you have a green Hakanachi with a Laguerre coming in. Okay. You get these type of trades. Most of them are going to work out for you. But when you force things, and again, we all do this. When you force things because you haven't had enough trades or whatever, right? That's when you can get yourself into trouble, right? Again, you can see the tick count has been pretty flat here. So there's nothing major going on in the markets right now. We'll see if we can come down and fill that gap. And again, as a reminder, you're looking at Hakanachi candles, not regular price candles, but the actual price are the little lines here. So the red is the actual price. The white was the open of this candle. Okay. All right, let me bring up corn, see if it's doing anything here. Aha. So we missed it. Darn it. But this is what I look for, right? Remember that it was turning red, but it never closed red, okay, on this corn 5 minute. So there's your entry right here. Laguerre turns up, green dot. You see that? Let me blow that up, folks. This is what you look for, okay? This is what you look for. Now, you can see potential divergence because this bar, you see the arrow? This can still disappear until this bar closes. It says potential. So if this closes with divergence, we're probably close to a short-term top, okay? So I'd be taking my small profits right about now, okay? If this closes in 3 minutes with divergence, okay? And you can see, that 689 level was roughly the recent high, okay? And so you're going to have some smaller wins, or, again, look how bullish that 1 minute is though. Okay. At this point, as long as you protected your break even, okay, there's no reason to exit it yet. Okay. But you also know you have potential divergence. If this ends up closing with it, then again, it doesn't mean all of a sudden the market's going down, 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 right? It may not be even that next candle, but we're probably getting close to a top. That's what that means. Okay. Because you would have a new high in price, but not a new high in momentum. Okay. But that's what we look for. Okay. And again, there's no reason to think we're not going to continue higher until it tells us otherwise, because very bullish candles there. Okay. So that's what I look for, folks. That's exactly, if my number ones are in the direction, right? The moving averages are pretty wide. Okay. You get the retracement in every market, you get retracements. Okay. And then bam, there's your rules. Okay. And if you were in this trade, you can stay in it, reduce your risk until you get a red candle. Okay. So as long as you can remember colors, that's your exit point. Okay. You see these wicks coming in here though, right? A lot of resistance here, and we might have divergence, right? So that's why I'm like, okay, I think I would take a few ticks and get out would be probably a good play, right? Until it can break above these highs here at 689.50. I didn't know today I was going to be able to demonstrate with corn the perfect opportunity, right? That's a perfect situation. Uptrend, retracement. In this case, it bounced off the 20, green Hakanachi. Right now, we're just trying to see if it's going to break above that 689 or not here. We got 30 seconds to the new 5-minute bar opens up. We'll see if we keep that divergence. Okay, so it hasn't painted yet. Okay, it didn't end up meeting that criteria, so now it's still potential. So I'm expecting a little bit more push, probably to these recent highs here, 3-4 more ticks. Okay, it hasn't painted. It can still change now, right? It can still change now. So I'm okay with that. But you can see all these wicks right here. More than likely, we're very close to a short-term high, maybe a double top. But right now, the 1 minute says, hey, Keith, relax. We're good. We're going higher. Let me go back to the ES. Okay, so again, the ES is just kind of waiting to hit that gap fill. You know, on the 1 minute bar, you can see downward movement. So again, as far as entries, you got the Laguerre with the red Hakanachi dot. Okay, those are the rules, right? Following the rules, at some point, you're then going to get where it just stays red for a while, right? And those are always fun trades here. Okay. See if it breaks through that 42.27 here. If it does, come on, gap, right? But that 5 minutes a pretty bearish candle, right? So again, it looks like we want to come and get that here before we conclude today. Yeah, so what I have, great question. So what I have here, folks, over here, I haven't really talked much about it. I have a 5-minute Laguerre trigger that tells me when things are triggered. So if I have, let's say I'm trading, 5 or 6 different opportunities, once I get a long or a short on the 5 minute here, okay, then I can switch over and take a look at it. So yeah, you got it, Ness. And so while we're waiting here, if you're interested, again, I'm going to have another one on the, let me check I want to make sure I'm giving you the right dates here. I should have had that written down. Yeah, so June 30th, I'll have another open session. Absolutely. But if you have questions, you can email me at drkeith@seasonaltraderpro.com. I'll put it in the chat as well. Okay. I'll offer some special deals on this launch of this. Yeah. And if you have any questions, you want to talk to somebody that has it, that's fine. Absolutely. But anyway, so we're just kind of waiting here. Let me go back to corn. Ah, perfect. So let's talk about corn now. Okay. Okay. So corn, look what happened. Now this, see how this arrow's here and the next bar opened up? So now, okay, it's not going to go away. And so at some point, we're probably here very close to a retracement before it goes higher. So if you were in this trade, I would be exiting. Okay, divergence is super powerful. It doesn't mean that candle necessarily though, but very close to it. Okay. The other thing is if you get a short trigger here, you can go short as a counter trend and put your stop right above this recent wick. But this is a pretty strong long. I don't think I want to do that, but you could put your stop right up here, just lose a few ticks potentially. But that's how that works here, folks. Okay, so let me just keep looking around here. I'm just trying to find some more opportunities for you. So crude's breaking out finally, right? That's what we were waiting for. Okay, and we got news in 15 minutes though. Sometimes the pre-news hits. But now I like it more to the long side after we get a retracement, but I'm not going to go in right before the news, okay? That's exactly what I do, Bill. So, like these instruments here, I'll get a long, I'll go look. I'll get a, like let's look at the Dow, right? Let me just look at it. Okay. So I would look at it and say, okay, we're starting a signal here. And I don't really like this though, right? So then I'll skip it. Let me look at soybean. We're getting a long on the 5 minute, right here. And it's pretty sideways. I don't really like it. Okay, and that's what I do absolutely. That way. Let's look at the Forex pair, Euro US dollar. Let's see what that's been doing today. Okay, so again, uptrend, retracement. See here, this would be a pair if you like to trade. You might look for a long play on the 1 minute if this turns around on the 5. Okay, or again, you can take 5 minute triggers. Absolutely, you're going to stay in the trade much longer on these as long as you're okay. In this case, you'd want your stop below right here, right? If you're okay with that risk, you got more than that reward there. Okay. All right, so the ES is getting closer to the gap fill. Okay, so it broke through, so it's probably going to fill that gap now. Yeah, Jim. So yes, but in saying that, the next one's going to be the 30th because I'm out that following Wednesday. But yes, typically it's twice a month. You got it. So it came down right here. See the wick so far? 2 ticks from hitting the gap so far. 2 ticks. Okay. So you get the point on that. Okay. That's why, these fake outs here to the long side, if we haven't filled the gap yet, I'm very, very hesitant. I'm very hesitant. Okay. Because I have seen the gap fill so many times, especially a beautiful gap of 36 ticks. In this case, it's gone down 34. So we haven't quite hit that gap officially yet. Okay. But yeah, so if you have questions, email me. Again, I'll put my email in there again, drkeith at seasonaltraderpro.com. You can always call me as well. This is my cell phone. Text me and say, hey, are you free or whatever. If I'm not out riding my horses or something, I'll I'll call. Today's beautiful, so I'll probably go out in a little bit, but we'll see. So, okay. Let's see what wheat's doing. Let's see if it's making, or I'm sorry, corn, I mean. All right. So corn, remember it has that divergence here and it's starting to move down. and again, if you took that, your stop was above there. Now you're just going to take some profits and play it. But divergence is powerful. That's why, again, this is a great example. It just shows up for you, right? And then, you just know that you're probably close to a top. So again, you don't have to go counter trend if you don't want to, but it tells you probably should take your profits here because we're getting very close to that top. Okay. Oh yeah, so I'll bring up a stock like Apple, right? Everybody loves Apple. Well, maybe. I guess I shouldn't assume that anymore. All right, so Apple's a case where look at here on the 5-minute. See all these wicks? Okay. So if you got a green Hakanachi on Apple and you're day trading, right, you can put your stop right below this wick once this closed green and see if you can ride it up, but you have a defined stop. And I would like to see that Laguerre head up, start heading up, and there you have it, though, right? So we have a plan within seconds of what we'd be looking for, right? And that's the key. You have to have a plan, a high probability plan. This is more of an indecision Hakanachi, right? Now the new bar just opened up. You see that? And you see the Laguerre heading up? So I like that with the stop right here, okay? With the stop right here. If I'm day trading, I'm usually doing that day's expiration at the money, okay? But most of my trades are futures related, just my preference. But I know some folks out there that love doing options like on the SPY and so forth. You can absolutely do, instead of the ES, you could do the SPY. Absolutely. Well, all right, folks, what I said was I recorded this, okay? And you can go back and watch it. You'll get it later on today. And I'm going to do one on the 30th, same thing, so you can come attend again. But if you have questions, again, email me at drkeith@seasonaltraderpro.com or call me. You got my number there. But other than that, again, it was a pretty slow day. But the cool thing about that is, one, it shows you that if you can't identify that in a trading system that it's a slow day, right, then your trading system probably isn't that good, okay? And so in this case, we came down almost 2 ticks, more high probability we'll end up covering those 2 ticks as well. But hopefully at least you gain knowledge of the gap. So if I never talk to you again, you never attend another webinar of mine, keep aware of the gap. Super powerful there, okay? All right, folks, look, I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to those of you that are new every other Wednesday, which is this today at 1. I also have a swing trading where I talk about bigger picture stuff as well. You can always attend that. If you just go to seasonaltraderpro.com, I'll just bring that up for you. Bear with me. So seasonaltraderpro.com, and then you scroll down, my weekly market analysis, you can register for that, okay? And I record it, so if you can't attend, right, it's there for you, okay? No, for my members, what I do it. I don't do it every day. No, I mean, on special events, like I'm going to start doing it on ADP and non-farm payroll because that's a beautiful trade. But the actual trading room per se, like today, I do Wednesdays twice a month. Yep. I like to play as much as I can out there, and this is all getting automated, so that'll be released later in the year as well on automated strategies, which would be fantastic. But until then, this is how I do it. And then I pop in throughout the day. If I like the triggers, I take them, right? That's the beautiful thing, is that I don't have to just do it for certain time frames. The last hour and a half of the day at times can be fantastic, right? So let's say you trade until 11 o'clock and then you're gone and you come back at 2:30, some phenomenal trades at times as well. So that's how I do it. All right, folks, again, thanks again. Hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Take care, everyone. Bye.